Okay, welcome back. This is the third and final installment for the line of best fit videos. And this one's going to be pretty quick because what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through this simple calculation of B and A so that you can see how these how these regression parameters are calculated. So remember that if you look at up here, you'll see y equals bx plus a. That's the general formula or the equation for the line of best fit in regression. Now this is just bivariate regression. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to solve for b. And I'm just going to make a shortcut because I don't like really long equations, and I'm going to assign n, capital N, the length of x, which is the same as these are the number of observations. And the formula is pretty simple. B is defined as, in bivariate regression, as n times the sum of the cross product. So what's the cross product? Remember that x and y are of equal length. So if I do x and I do y, and then I do, if you look down here, you'll see down here, I have x, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and y, 4, 8, 10, 7, 8, so on and so forth. Right? So x times y is 1 times 4, 2 times 8, 3 times 10, and this is the cross product. And if I take the sum of the cross product, so sum of x times y, I get 118. So this is n, the number of observations, times the sum of the cross products. And then I subtract from this the sum of x times y. So x, the sum of x, times the sum of y. So the sum of x is 15, and the sum of y, is 37. So if I do sum of x times the sum of y, you get 555. So what is n times the sum of the cross products? It's going to be a pretty big number, 590. So 590 minus 555. So that gives us 45 in the numerator. So now we've got 45, and we're going to divide it. So let's just keep that in mind. So this is going to be 590 minus 555. And I'm going to put parentheses up here. And then divide that by this part here, which is going to be, now you notice in the denominator, all we have are x's. So let's do these x operations. So this is n times the sum of x squared. Okay, so that's 275. So we're going to do this, 275 minus the sum of x squared, which is 225. 225. Okay, now if I just execute that, I get 0.7. And so this right here is the numerical instantiation of this formula here. So if I just run this and then I type b, I get 0.7. And that indeed is our slope. If we go back to summary, LM1, you'll see that this is our b value. It's got a lot more zeros in it, but that's, you get the idea. So now we have b. Once we solve for b, we're good to solve for a. Now the easiest way to solve for a is to just work backwards. Remember that y equals bx plus a. Just solve for a, put a on the left-hand side, or swap things around. Make sure that you can solve for a, y equals y minus bx. Simple substitution here, flipping things around. And then what you can do is you can just substitute in the mean of x and the mean of y in order to get a. So a can be calculated by taking the mean of y and multiplying it b times the mean of x, and you'll see here that a is indeed 5.3. And what we want to do is just take bits and pieces of this to calculate. The mean of y is 7.4, and the mean of x is 3, so 7.4. Now, it's not 7.4 minus 3. Remember, you have to take b. So what was b? b was 0.7, right? So what this is going to equal is this is going to be 7.4 minus 3 times 0.7. And we get 5.3. There's a more cryptic formula for this, and that is A is defined as the sum of y minus b times the sum of x divided by n. And if I take that calculation and I do A here, you see it's 5.3. So you see, no matter how I calculate it, whether I do the means or I do it this way, this more cryptic way of doing it, you'll know that this second equation is identical to the first one. Why? Well, what's a mean? So I'm going to put comments here. Mean is equal to the sum of the x's divided by n, right? So what do I have here? I've got the sum of y and the sum of x, and I can divide both of them up by n. Well, my first formula, remember, was A is the mean of y minus b times the mean of x, right? But we can also say that this is the sum of y divided by n, right? Now I want to put those in brackets because remember PEMDAS, we want this stuff done correctly, and I go crazy with parentheses. Sum of x divided by n, right? And that's the same. And then we can just say, well, okay, here's an n as a denominator, and here's an n. So what we can do is just take the denominator out, and I'm going to put sum of y minus b times sum of x, right? Okay, and then divide by n. So you can see here, this is the sum of y and the sum of x, and I've just taken out the n. Okay, same thing here. Okay, so that's it. That's how to calculate B and A.